Class, I have never been able to make any point within 5 minutes, so this video alone is going to be a challenge, never mind doing a whole series of videos called 5 Minute Masterclass. Why I gave myself such a stupid challenge for a podcast, I don't know, but look, if we go over 5 minutes, it'll be worth it, but let's see how we go. So, in all of these videos, what I'm going to try and do is condense a nugget of really useful information into a 5 minute window. I know most DJs have little pea brains, smaller like little chicken brains. All they can really understand is how to format record box, if even that. So that's why we're doing it in 5 minutes. I'm only joking. Don't worry, I know you're all very intelligent people. So start off by alienating all of the audience straight away. That's the best message. No, so there's lots of stuff we can cover in this podcast series. Like, for a DJ today, one of the big problems are that there's so many things to do that aren't music. And I personally see a lot of DJs really finding it hard to sort of feel that passion during COVID when there aren't gigs as much. There's not the same level of hype around the scene. There's not as much stuff to look forward to. You're not playing out. I'm seeing lots of guys that, as stuff starts to open up now, they're getting out and getting on turntables and stuff and putting photos on social media going, I haven't touched one of these in over a year. And while that's not the case for everybody, it's in general, there's a lot of DJs that have been disconnected from getting to play out and that love of why they got into it in the first place. But yet still you have all of this other stuff. Social media, growing an audience, getting signed, promoting releases, just a myriad of stuff that isn't why they got into it in the first place. And I think that can really stifle creativity and maybe hold passion back a little bit. It's kind of, you want to do this thing that you really love, but you also have all this other shit to do that you don't really care about as much. And so that's what I want to hop in and look at today. So look, here's some stupid little drawings that I've done that will help me highlight my point. So this is a DJ in the booth. I think it's very rare that a DJ isn't a DJ because they fell in love with this element of it in some way, either being in the booth or in the studio and everything that surrounds that. So in the booth is, when you're practicing at home, when you're performing live, when you're making music, when you're thinking about music, when you're crate digging music. You fell in love with music probably because you've seen somebody else in the booth or somebody else in the studio that inspired you. You went to your first festival or your first gig, or you fell in love with this scene because either you or somebody else that inspired you was doing music. That's why you're here. But there's all this other stuff. There's social media, there's getting signed, there's finding gigs, there's creating content, there's promoting releases. And all of that brings you to a totally different place where you feel like you're in the office. Do you feel like that sometimes when you're having to put up a post, or when you're having to sit down and schedule content, or you're having to DM promoters, or if you're chasing labels to sign you and you're emailing them, or you're posting artwork and you're doing all this stuff and it feels like you're in the office. It feels like fucking admin. I hate admin. Most people hate admin. And so there's this giant sea between the creativity element and this other element that you're forced to do to have a career. And I think this is really what's pulling a lot of DJs in two ways. They want to do this thing, but then they have to do this other thing. And it feels like it's pulling them away from the music. And that's because it is. Over here, you have the creativity side. Over here, you have the admin side. And they are not the same thing. So how do we go about this? Well, actually, there are 3 things that you can sort of avoid doing and 3 things to do to fix it that I think will really help this. The first thing is, don't be a boring bastard. I mean this with the nicest of respect, but look at your social media feed. Are you one of the millions of DJs that I see? I use millions in the term, not millions, but quite often when we have young DJs that are emerging artists that are looking at their, well, like if they come to a boot camp and we look at their social media feed, they've usually used it like a flyer dump. So they've got all the artwork that promoters give them, they dump it up there. If they're doing a live stream, they get an artwork, they dump it up there. If they've got a mix, they'll share the SoundCloud link. If they've got a Beatport track, they'll put a link up and ask people to buy it. All of this is unholy boring. Think about it. Like, if somebody else posts it, do you stop and engage and get excited? I want you to think about artwork. Like, the only people that ever care about event artwork, and I know you've got to put them up, but the only people that ever care about it are people that are already going. Like, if you see a big gig that posts the artwork and finally they release the lineup and everybody that's going gets really excited and goes, way, and does loads of comments on the post. But, like, that artwork that you're putting up for your live stream on Twitch next week, nobody cares. Nobody's looking at it. When was the last time, like, you walk past one of those hoarding boards with, like, loads of posters for gigs and you just stopped dead and read every single last one of them? You don't do it. No one cares about your artwork. Do put it up, but don't just put it up. So don't be a boring bastard. Don't make people fall asleep the minute they look at your feed. If you're putting up boring content, A, your audience is bored and nobody's engaging with your stuff. But B, and more importantly to this point, you're bored. You don't enjoy putting it up. You're just putting it up for the sake of it. How do you fix that? Well, you tell your story. Your social media should be a story. It should be your story. What have you got going on? Show us. There's a great book called Show Your Work, and it discusses how, well, exactly that. You should show your work. What have you got going on? Show us the process. Showing us the artwork is kind of showing us the finished product. I've got a gig next week, or I've got a live stream next week. It's sales material. What you want to do is show your work. How did you practice? How did you prepare for that gig? What were all the steps leading up to getting that gig? Like, show your story. Tell a story on your socials and everybody will be hooked in. All the best stuff is stories, the best marketing. I mean, we'll sit in front of Netflix and we'll binge 10 hours non-stop and just stare at the screen because it's a story. Story hooks you in. You have a story. You're up to lots of cool of interest and interesting stuff. All, like, if you're a creative, if most DJs are characters, most people I meet in the scene are characters in some sense or another, you've got interesting stuff going on. I know you do. Does your social media reflect that, or is it just a flyer dump? Like, if somebody looked at it that didn't know you, would they get your personality? Would they see all the quirky things that you're into and all the interesting stuff you get up to? Like, is it a representation of you, the character, the person, the interesting person that's buried inside you? If it's not, well, it should be, okay? And if you're sharing that on your socials, if you're showing a bit of you and loosening up and not being afraid to show what you're about as a person, that becomes interesting and enjoyable. You don't have to sit in the office and dream up posts anymore. You can just share your life, document your work, share what's going on. You don't have to think of posts. They happen all the time, okay? So that's the first thing. Number 2, I did some colouring in here. Grown 37-year-old man sitting colouring in, and I'm giving you advice. Stop posting just for the sake of it. This follows on from the first point. I hear a lot of guys, when we talk about they don't know what to post, they say, I don't want to be posting just for the sake of it. And what that usually means is they only ever post when they have something to post. And that means I have an artwork, I have a flyer, I have a SoundCloud. When you have something to promote, you're always in sales mode and you're never entertaining and engaging your audience. You're just trying to sell them all the time. Click this link, look at this artwork, go to this gig. And that's boring. Hi, I have fuck all going on in my life. I do, however, have some very tasty artwork for a gig next week. That's what that says. People don't follow you because they want to see every second flyer. They follow you because they want to see what you're about. They want to see your story unfold. And so stop posting just for the sake of it. How do you do that? Well, it's very easy. If you're sitting in front of a laptop and you're thinking, I have to post on socials, I just don't know what to be posting. Stop. Close the laptop. fuck posting for a little while. Go off and do something that you love. And just show us that. If you're a DJ, go and just practice for a while. If you want to launch a night, go and do that. If you want to do a unique live stream somewhere, go and do that. If you want to set up a label, go and do that. Do something interesting that's creative, that you enjoy doing. That's the reason you got into this thing in the first place. Fuck the socials for a little while. Go and do that. Indulge yourself in some fun creativity, and then just show us that while you're doing it. Just put stories up of that. Show us the horrible first version. Show us you getting it better. Show us if it's making tracks. Show us your horrible loops at the start. Show us how you perfected them. Like, show the process. This continues on. Show your work. If you're ever stuck for something to post, that's not because you're not good at social media. That's because you've got fuck all going on. Like, in the net, you've nothing going on that you want to post. So you're sitting there going, what do I post? Will I post that gig that I have in 2 weeks? You're thinking that because that's all that you have going on. So you don't need to fix your social media. You need to fix what's going on. Go and do some cool projects. And that's the reason you get into this. Go and do something fun and show us it. Nice and easy. And that way, you're not stuck up here in the office thinking what to post. You're over here doing the fun, creative shit and just showing us it. And you'll have really, really good social media if you do that, because that's interesting to watch. What's this lad up to now? It's so simple. It's a sin, but it is the right answer. Okay? And it's also not 5 minutes long. So the third thing, after you're not being a boring bastard and you're not posting for the sake of it, this is a controversial thing to say to a group of DJs. Fuck followers. Stop worrying about followers. Every DJ is like, I need to grow my followers before I'll get signed. I need to grow my followers before I'll get a tour. And it's setting this hurdle where you're not taking action because you're waiting to grow your followers. Fuck your followers. Trust me, no promoters are booking emerging artists based on their followers. Yes, you might book Adam Bayer because you know he's a huge DJ and he's got a big reach and he's going to sell tickets. You book all the headliners because you know they're a draw. That's why you spend all that big money on them. The middle level of guys that are working their way up, you expect them not to have followers. You expect them to be paid less. You expect them to work and hustle and all of those things. You don't expect them to have a huge followership. Like, if you're an emerging artist, and I really believe this is an against popular opinion, but if you're an emerging artist and you're breaking your back trying to grow your Facebook page and grow your followers, here's what you should do. You should get your Facebook page, print it out, crumple it up, and shove it up your arse. Or shove it up, better still, shove it up Mark Zuckerberg's arse. Because it's that useful to you. If you're a small emerging artist with no budget for ads, that's as useful as your Facebook page. Facebook has gone to the point where, I mean, if you have 5,000 fans or 10,000 fans and you're putting out a post about whatever it may be, you're reaching a couple of hundred people. You're going to have to spend on advertising to boost that post to see more people. Now, if you've no way of recouping that money, it's just, you're just throwing it down the drain. It's okay for a bigger artist or a bigger label to spend it because they spend 100 out. They're going to, they're going to make that back through touring, through whatever it may be. If you spend 100 quid on a Beatport release, promoting a Beatport release in the newsfeed, how many people do you think are going to see that don't know you, that you've advertised it, and click straight through onto Beatport and buy the track? Very few. It's just not the way it works. So you spend 100 quid, maybe if you're lucky you might sell one or two. It's that 3 quid, how much of that are you going to get back? You're losing money every time. So if you're an emerging artist, concentrate on your other platforms. I would use your personal Facebook feed and just allow followers. If you've got an alias, obviously that's not much use to you. But concentrate on other platforms. Stop wasting time trying to grow followers. Concentrate on great content. Concentrate on great music. Concentrate on getting music out regularly. Rather than doing followers each week, get a mix out each week. Try and grow that. Try and grow your audiences around your music. Fuck followers. If your content is good enough and your music is regular enough, followers will come. But stop giving yourself an excuse for not reaching out to the labels or not reaching out to the festivals because you think your followers aren't up to scratch. Trust me, there's lots of DJs that are getting slots all around you that have followers smaller than you. What was the solution for that? Okay, just do this. Concentrate on what you can control. You can't control how much reach you get on a Facebook page unless you spend ads. And if you're an emerging artist that doesn't have the budget, that's going to be tough to do. So concentrate on what you can control. Get mixes out. Make sure your content is great. Make sure you're like what we talked about before. Do interesting stuff and show that. Be consistent with your music. Make good music. Be chatting and networking with promoters on a regular basis. If you can't travel, do it on socials. Be creative and be consistent, and it'll all be cool. If you just show up, be creative, do it on a regular basis, keep showing up and work your stuff on socials, but don't break your back about followers. It will all be cool, okay? Now, that's not going to turn you into Adam Bayer overnight, but what it will do, it'll solve this problem. You'll spend more time here because even when you're posting on socials, you're being creative about it. You're showing the cool stuff that you're doing, and you'll spend less time here. And this will solve the problem of feeling like you're having to do admin. You're having to leave your music, leave your creativity to do all this admin shit. Instead, you're just concentrating on doubling down on your music, on your productions, on your cool projects, a label, a night, an event, a collective, whatever it may be. Do something creative and just show us that as you go. And fuck spending time in the office. Let's spend time here in creativity where we want to be. Let's see what the time is on this. I'm interested to 16 minutes. Wow, this 5-minute masterclass is going to be tough. I'm still calling it that, but whatever. So I hope this was useful to you. I will do another attempted challenge at a 5-minute masterclass tomorrow. If this sounds like something you would like me to help you with, pop me a DM in the chat. We have a program to help artists with this on a daily basis. You can hop on a weekly Zoom call with me and hop into my group of clients where we work together on shit like this and all the other shit too. Thank you very much for tuning in. I will speak to you in the next edition of the 5-minute masterclass. That is definitely not 5 minutes.